Commander Archon Velthros stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dominance, watching the yellow star grow larger on the view screen. Behind his ship stretched a fleet of 1,247 warships, each one a masterpiece of Zinthkar engineering. The formation was perfect, exactly as it had been for the past 3 weeks of travel through this primitive star system. "Status report," Velthros commanded, his 4 eyes scanning the tactical display. "All ships reporting ready status, Commander Archon," his second officer replied. "We are approaching the orbit of the 6th planet. The target world is 4 planetary bodies ahead." Velthros allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. This would be conquest number 48 for the Zinthkar Dominion. In 200 years, his people had brought order to 47 star systems. This one would fall just as easily as the others. He pulled up the intelligence files on the species that called themselves humans. The data made him want to laugh. These creatures had barely left their own planet. They had a few stations orbiting their world and some primitive probes sent to their neighboring planets. Their fastest ships could not even reach 1/10 the speed of light. They had no energy shields, no plasma weapons, no unified government. They were divided into nearly 200 separate nations, constantly arguing with each other. "Pathetic," Velthros muttered. His tactical officer looked up from her console. "Commander Archon?" "These humans," Velthros said, gesturing at the display. "They have been sitting on a resource-rich world in a strategically important location, and they have done nothing with it. They fight among themselves over invisible lines on their planet's surface. They poison their own air and water. They have the capacity for space travel, yet most of their population has never left their world." "They are primitive, sir," the tactical officer agreed. "The conquest should take less than a standard week." Velthros nodded. The plan was simple, and had worked on every other world. The fleet would enter orbit around Earth, display overwhelming force, and broadcast a surrender demand. The humans would have exactly 1 rotation of their planet to accept. If they refused, the fleet would begin systematic destruction of their military installations. After that, resistance would crumble. It always did. The Zinthkar had refined this process over 2 centuries. Velthros himself had commanded conquest fleets for 30 years. He knew every possible response a primitive species might attempt. Some tried to fight with their crude weapons. Some attempted to negotiate. Some simply surrendered immediately. In the end, it made no difference. The Zinthkar Dominion always won. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the High Command," the communications officer announced. Velthros straightened. On screen, the image of Grand Executor Zarthek appeared, his ceremonial armor glinting. "Commander Archon Velthros, the Council of Dominance has reviewed your strategic plan. It is approved. You are authorized to proceed with the conquest of the human homeworld." "Thank you, Grand Executor." "We will not fail the Dominion. See that you do not. The humans may be primitive, but they have one thing we need. Their world sits at the intersection of 4 major hyperspace lanes. Once we control Earth, we control access to an entire sector of the galaxy. Do you understand the importance of this conquest?" "Completely, Grand Executor. Within 1 standard week, the human homeworld will belong to the Dominion." Zarthek's expression hardened. "Do not underestimate any species, Commander Archon. Overconfidence has destroyed better officers than you." "I understand, sir. However, I assure you, these humans pose no threat to this fleet. Our smallest destroyer could defeat their entire military. We have 1,247 warships. The outcome is certain." The Grand Executor studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Glory to the Dominion," Velthros repeated, and the transmission ended. The bridge crew returned to their duties. Velthros walked to the forward viewport and stared at the distant blue-green planet. From this distance, it looked peaceful, almost beautiful. Soon it would be just another conquered world, its resources feeding the Dominion's endless expansion. Navigation. Set course for the third planet. Maximum combat speed. Navigation. 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 Set course for the third planet. Yes, Commander Archon. Course laid in. All ships. Maintain formation. Shields to maximum. Weapons systems on standby. We enter the human defensive sphere. In 6 standard hours, the fleet began to accelerate. Velthros felt the subtle vibration through the deck as the Eternal Dominance's engines pushed them faster. Behind him, 1,246 other ships matched his speed exactly. The formation was a sight to inspire fear in any species. It had broken the will of countless civilizations before they ever fired a shot. Velthros reviewed the tactical data one more time. The humans had approximately 40 armed satellites in orbit. Each one was equipped with chemical rockets and primitive kinetic weapons. Against Zinthkar shields, they would be like throwing pebbles at a mountain. The humans had no orbital defense platforms worth mentioning, no fleet of warships, no coherent defense strategy. This will be the easiest conquest in Dominion history, Velthros said to his second officer. Agreed, Commander Archon. I almost feel sorry for them. Save your pity. The strong survive, the weak serve. This is the law of the galaxy. We are bringing them into a greater civilization. They should be grateful. The bridge fell silent except for the quiet hum of the ship's systems. The crew prepared for battle, checking weapons and defensive systems, running final diagnostics on all critical equipment. Everything was perfect. Everything was ready. Velthros allowed himself to imagine his triumph. After this conquest, he would almost certainly be promoted to Grand Commander. Perhaps he would even earn a seat on the Council of Dominance itself. 48 conquered worlds. The number had a pleasant sound to it. On the view screen, the massive gas giant they were passing grew larger. Its swirling clouds of orange and brown filled half the display. In a few hours, they would reach the orbit of the red planet the humans called Mars. After that, Earth itself. Velthros smiled. History would remember this day as the beginning of humanity's integration into the Dominion. He would be remembered as the commander who brought an entire new species under Zinthkar rule. He had no idea that history would remember this day very differently. He had no idea that in less than 6 hours, his mighty fleet would cease to exist. And he had absolutely no idea that humanity's greatest defensive weapon was something no military strategist in the galaxy had ever considered. Carelessness. Doctor. Sarah Chen was drinking her third coffee of the night shift when every alarm in the deep space monitoring station went off at once. She dropped her cup, and it shattered on the floor. But she barely noticed. Her eyes were locked on the screen in front of her. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Sarah, are you seeing this?" Her colleague Marcus shouted from across the room. "I'm seeing it. I just don't believe it." The radar display showed more than 1,000 objects approaching from beyond Saturn's orbit. They were moving fast, much faster than anything humanity had ever built. And they were headed directly toward Earth. Sarah's hands shook as she reached for the emergency phone. "This is Deep Space Station 7. We have multiple unknown contacts approaching Earth. Repeat. We have contact with unknown vessels. This is not a drill." Within minutes, every space monitoring station on Earth was tracking the approaching fleet. Within an hour, every government on the planet knew that humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and that their first neighbors were not coming in peace. The Zinthkar broadcast arrived at dawn, Greenwich Mean Time. It interrupted every television channel, every radio station, every internet stream on Earth simultaneously. The message was translated into 73 different human languages, primitive inhabitants of the third planet. "We are the Zinthkar Dominion. Your world now belongs to us. You have one rotation of your planet to surrender all weapons and submit to Dominion authority. Resistance is futile. Compliance will be rewarded. Defiance will be punished. Choose wisely. The message repeated 3 times, then ended. On Earth, panic spread like wildfire. People flooded the streets, staring up at the sky. Governments convened emergency sessions. Religious leaders called for prayer. Military forces across the world went to full alert, though everyone knew their weapons would be useless against technology that could cross the stars. In orbit around Earth, the crew of the International Space Station watched helplessly as the alien fleet approached. They could see them now with their telescopes. Hundreds of ships in perfect formation. Houston, this is ISS. We have visual confirmation of the hostile fleet. They're real. God help us. They're real. But something was wrong. Aboard the Eternal Dominance, Velthros was reviewing the surrender broadcast when the first alarm sounded. Commander Archon, we're detecting multiple impacts on the outer hull. The tactical officer reported, her voice confused. Damage is minimal, but sensors cannot identify the source. Impacts? Velthros moved to her console. From what? The humans have not fired any weapons. Unknown, sir. It's as if we're flying through a debris field, but sensors show no large objects in our path. Run a full diagnostic on the sensor array. It must be malfunctioning. Before the tactical officer could respond, another alarm blared. Then another. Within 60 seconds, half the bridge displays were flashing warnings. Sir, the Crimson Blade reports hull breach in Section 7. The Eternal Wrath reports loss of attitude control. The Dark Victory reports complete sensor failure. Velthros felt a cold sensation in his chest. All ships, reduce speed by half. Deploy defensive screens. Full tactical scan of surrounding space. The reports kept coming. Ships across the fleet were experiencing random failures. Hull breaches. Power fluctuations. Communications. Disruptions. And still, sensors detected no enemy action. No weapons fire. Nothing that could explain the cascade of malfunctions. Medical Bay reports, incoming casualties, the communications officer announced. Multiple ships reporting sick crew members. Symptoms include respiratory distress, fever, and disorientation. That's impossible. Our environmental systems are sealed. How could a disease spread through the fleet? Nobody had an answer. On Earth, confused joy was replacing panic. The alien fleet was falling apart, and humanity had not fired a single shot. What's happening to them? The President of the United States asked his advisors. We're not sure, sir, General Peterson replied. Our satellites are picking up explosions and debris from their fleet. Some of their ships are colliding with each other. It's chaos up there. Are we doing this somehow? Some weapon we didn't know we had? No, sir. If anything, they're doing it to themselves. Aboard the Eternal Dominance, Velthros gripped his command chair as the ship shuddered from another impact. On the view screen, he watched in horror as the Blade of Conquest, a heavy cruiser with a crew of 400, simply broke apart. No explosion, no enemy fire. The ship just came apart in sections, as if something had torn through its internal structure. Commander Archon, we're detecting massive electromagnetic interference. Our communications are being jammed by thousands of overlapping signals. The humans are jamming us? No, sir. The signals appear to be random broadcasts, entertainment transmissions, data streams, communications, satellites. It's like flying through a storm of radio noise. Velthros's mind raced. This was impossible. The humans were primitives. They had no weapons that could threaten his fleet. Yet, somehow, his armada was dying. Navigation. Plot an emergency retreat vector. All ships, withdraw to. The navigation officer looked up, his face pale. Sir, I can't. The navigation computer is corrupted. Half our star charts are gone. The other half are filled with errors. What? How? Unknown, sir. It's as if the system was infected with a virus, but our computers are isolated and shielded. Another alarm. Another ship reporting critical damage. Another crew reporting illness. Velthros pulled up the tactical display and felt his blood run cold. In the past hour, he had lost 70 ships. 70 ships without the enemy, firing a single shot. The fleet formation was in chaos. Ships were drifting out of position, some damaged, some simply lost because their navigation systems had failed. All ships, this is Commander Archon Velthros. Activate emergency protocols. All vessels are to retreat immediately, using local navigation only. Return to the rally point, beyond the 6th planet. Execute now. The fleet began to turn, but the damage was done. They were still in the empty space between worlds, and something was killing them. Velthros stared at the blue-green planet on his view screen. It looked so peaceful, so harmless. But somehow, impossibly, it was destroying his fleet. Get me Grand Executor Zarthek. Priority 1. As he waited for the connection, another ship exploded on the view screen. The Eternal Dominance shuddered again. Somewhere below deck, he heard the sound of atmosphere venting into space. They were supposed to conquer Earth in a week. Instead, they were being destroyed before they even got close enough to fire a shot. And Velthros had absolutely no idea how the humans were doing it. Dr. Velthros. 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 Sarah Chen had not slept in 36 hours. Neither had most of the scientists at the Deep Space Monitoring Station. They had been watching the alien fleet destroy itself. And slowly, piece by piece, they were beginning to understand why. Pull up the debris field map, she told Marcus. Overlay it with the alien fleet trajectory. The image appeared on her screen, and Sarah felt her breath catch. The correlation was perfect. Every time an alien ship reported damage, it coincided with passing through a dense pocket of human space junk. "Oh no," she whispered. "Oh no, no, no. What is it?" "Marcus, how fast are those ships moving?" He checked his calculations. Approximately 0.03 light speed. Why? Sarah started typing frantically. Because at that velocity, even a paint chip hits with the force of a bullet. A bolt hits like a bomb. And we've been throwing garbage into orbit for 70 years. The realization spread through the scientific community like wildfire. Humanity had inadvertently created a defensive minefield around Earth. Decades of satellites, rocket stages, dead spacecraft, tools dropped during spacewalks, fragments from collisions, even flecks of paint that had peeled off aging space stations. There were millions of pieces of debris orbiting Earth. Most of them too small to track. All of them moving at orbital velocity. The Zinthkar fleet had hit this debris field at a significant fraction of light speed. It was like flying through a shotgun blast. Aboard the Eternal Dominance, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. Velthros listened to the damage reports with growing horror. Engineering reports we've lost main power to sections 12 through 18. Hull breaches on decks 4, 7, and 9. Life support is failing in the crew quarters. Endwell. 42. Medical bay is overwhelmed. We have over 300 crew members with severe respiratory infections. The chief medical officer says the disease is spreading faster than they can treat it. Navigation systems are completely corrupted. We're flying blind, Commander Archon. Velthros slammed his fist on the arm of his command chair. How? How is this possible? We detected no biological weapons, no computer attacks, no projectile weapons of any kind. His science officer, an elderly Zinthkar named Pelmoth, approached cautiously. Explain. The humans have been broadcasting electromagnetic radiation into space for over 100 of their years. Radio waves, television signals, data transmissions. These signals travel outward in all directions. We are currently flying through decades of accumulated transmissions. So, our ships are shielded against electromagnetic interference. Against military jamming, yes. But this is different. We're being hit by thousands upon thousands of overlapping signals, none of them coordinated, all of them on different frequencies. Our computers are trying to process all of this noise and failing. It's like trying to have a conversation in the middle of a market where 10,000 people are all shouting at once. Velthros stared at him. You're telling me we're being defeated by entertainment broadcasts? And commercial advertisements, news programs, internet data, cellular phone signals, GPS transmissions, and dozens of other forms of electromagnetic noise. Yes, Commander Archon. What about the physical damage? The hull breaches. Pelmoth pulled up a holographic display. Space debris, sir. The humans have been discarding their technology into orbit for decades. There are millions of small objects circling their planet. At our current velocity, even a tiny fragment causes significant damage. Velthros felt dizzy. His mighty fleet was being destroyed by garbage and television reruns. And the disease? That is the most disturbing finding, sir. The humans have contaminated the space around their planet with biological material. Their own bacteria and viruses, carried on solar winds and attached to debris. Our immune systems have never encountered these organisms. We have no resistance. The Commander Archon sat down heavily. A debris field, radio noise, and germs. We're being killed by carelessness. I'm afraid so, sir. Another explosion shook the ship. The lights flickered and went out, replaced by emergency lighting that cast everything in a sickly red glow. Damage report. Collision with unknown object. Forward shields are down. We've lost the entire starboard weapons array. On the view screen, Velthros watched another ship die. The Sword of Justice, one of his best destroyers, had collided with something the sensors still could not detect. The ship broke in half, atmosphere venting into space in glittering clouds of ice crystals. There would be no survivors. All ships, immediate withdrawal, maximum emergency speed. Get us out of this debris field now. But it was too late for many. Ships across the fleet were reporting catastrophic failures. Some had lost all power. Some were venting atmosphere from dozens of hull breaches. Some had crews too sick to operate basic systems. And some, attempting emergency faster than light, jumps with corrupted navigation systems, simply vanished in flashes of light that might have been successful escapes or might have been complete disintegration. The eternal dominance lurched as something tore through the hull. Alarms screamed. Crew members rushed past Velthros, heading for damage control stations. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human planet, the communications officer said. On screen, a human face appeared. An older male with gray hair and worried eyes. This is the Secretary General of the United Nations. We didn't do this. We don't know what's happening to your ships. If you need assistance, if there are survivors who need rescue, we are willing to help. Velthros almost laughed. The humans were offering to help rescue the fleet that had come to conquer them. They genuinely did not understand what they had done. Human leader, Velthros said slowly. Your world is surrounded by a defensive field more effective than anything we have ever encountered. You have weaponized your own waste and carelessness. You have created an environment so hostile that our ships cannot approach. Was this intentional? The human looked confused. I don't understand. We haven't fired any weapons at you. No. You did something far more effective. You made a mess. The transmission cut out as another power fluctuation swept through the ship. Velthros looked at what remained of his fleet on the tactical display. He had started with 1,247 ships. Less than 400 were still reporting operational status, and they had not even reached the red planet that the humans called Mars. They were still in the outer approaches to the human system, and they were already defeated. Sir, recommend we abandon the conquest and withdraw immediately. Velthros nodded slowly. Agreed. All ships, withdraw to rally point. Maximum speed. We are aborting the mission. As the Eternal Dominance turned away from Earth, limping on damaged engines, Velthros began recording his final mission log. Personal log, Commander Archon Velthros. The conquest of Earth has failed. The human species has proven to be more dangerous than any we have encountered, not through military might, but through sheer chaos. They have polluted their orbital space with debris. They have filled the electromagnetic spectrum with noise. They have contaminated the void around their planet with biological hazards. They are the messiest, most careless species in the galaxy, and that makes them utterly unconquerable. He paused, watching another ship explode on his screen. If the Dominion ever considers attacking Earth again, I recommend immediate nuclear sterilization from beyond their debris field. Do not attempt to land troops. Do not attempt orbital assault. And whatever you do, do not fly through their garbage. The Eternal Dominance shuddered one more time, then limped away into the dark, leaving behind the wreckage of the once mighty Zinthkar conquest fleet. General James Peterson stood in the command center deep beneath the Pentagon, staring at screens that showed the dying alien fleet. Around him, military officers from every branch of service watched in stunned silence. "Sir, we're getting reports from NASA," a young lieutenant said. "The aliens just destroyed one of their own cruisers. It collided with the debris trail from the old International Space Station. Thanks for watching. I'm Longredder Suv. Subluting. And information. The aliens just destroyed. One win for two them, with massing tension, the ISS debris? That station was decommissioned 20 years ago. 17. Yes, sir. Apparently the alien ship tried to course correct and flew right through the debris cloud. The impact tore it in half." Peterson shook his head in disbelief. "We're not even fighting them. They're just destroying themselves." "Not entirely, sir," said Dr. Amanda Foster, the NASA liaison. "Our satellites are engaging. Our satellites are engaging." "What? I didn't authorize any attacks." "You didn't need to, sir. The satellites are operating on automatic defensive protocols. When unknown hostile vessels enter their defense sphere, they engage automatically. It's been in the programming since the Cold War era." On one screen, footage showed an old military satellite, launched in 2018, firing small kinetic projectiles at an alien vessel that had strayed too close to Earth. The projectiles, designed to destroy incoming missiles, struck the alien ship's hull. At normal velocities, they would have been harmless, but the alien ship was moving so fast that the impact punched through its shields like they weren't even there. "How many of our satellites are still armed?" Peterson asked. "About 40. Most of them are obsolete by modern standards. But against these aliens," Dr. Foster gestured at the screens. "Well, you can see for yourself. The alien fleet was in complete disarray. Ships were scattered across millions of kilometers of space. Some were drifting, powerless. Some were trying to limp away on damaged engines. Some were simply gone, reduced to clouds of debris. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Chinese Space Command. They're scrambling their response fleet." "Response fleet? What response fleet?" 2. "They're mining vessels and satellite maintenance ships, about 30 vessels total. They're going to intercept the alien survivors. To fight them? No, sir. To offer assistance." Peterson blinked. "They're going to rescue the aliens who came to conquer us?" "Apparently so, sir. The Russians and Europeans are launching similar missions. So is India, Japan, and the African Union. Within hours, humanity's impromptu rescue fleet was underway. Mining ships, designed to haul asteroids. Satellite maintenance craft, built for delicate repair work. Even a few private space tourism vessels joined the effort. None of them were warships. None of them were armed. But they were all humanity had. And they were going to help. The crew of the Chinese mining ship, Long March 15, was the first to reach an alien survivor. The Zinthkar frigate was drifting, its hull breached in a dozen places, emergency lights flickering weakly. This is Long March 15 calling damaged alien vessel. We are here to assist. Do you need help? The response came in broken, heavily accented English. Yes. Yes. Please. We have wounded. We have dead. Our life support is failing. Understood. Stand by for docking. We're coming to get you. Captain Wei Lin maneuvered his ship carefully alongside the alien vessel. His ship was designed to grapple with asteroids, and the alien frigate was about the same size. Within an hour, they had established an emergency airlock and begun evacuating the surviving crew. The first alien to come through the airlock was tall, with 4 eyes and gray-blue skin. She was clutching a wounded crew member, supporting his weight. Captain Wei and his medical officer rushed forward to help. Easy, easy, Wei said, helping them to the deck. We've got you. You're safe now. The alien looked at him with an expression he could not quite read. You are helping us. Why? We came to conquer you, Wei shrugged. Because you need help. That's enough. Similar scenes were playing out across the battlefield. Human crews, speaking a dozen different languages, were pulling alien survivors from dying ships. The aliens, shocked and confused, accepted the help. Many of them were sick from diseases their bodies had never encountered. Many were injured from hull breaches and collisions. All of them were traumatized by the sudden destruction of their fleet. On Earth, the news channels were broadcasting continuous coverage. Humanity watched as their improvised rescue fleet saved the beings who had threatened to destroy them. Some people protested, saying the aliens should be left to die. But most people felt something else. Pity. They didn't know. One commentator said. They had no idea what they were flying into. How could they? What kind of civilization litters their own orbit with garbage? R. Aboard the Eternal Dominance, Velthros received reports of the human rescue efforts with growing confusion. His species had conquered 47 worlds. Never, not once, had the conquered species offered aid to their conquerors. The humans are risking their own lives to save our people, his second officer said. I don't understand their logic. Neither do I, Velthros admitted. But I am grateful. We have lost so many already. Without their help, we would lose many more. The final count was devastating. Of the 1,247 ships that had entered the Sol system, only 284 survived to retreat beyond the orbit of Jupiter. None of them had made it past Mars. None of them had fired a single shot at Earth. And Earth had not fired back, except for a handful of automatic defense satellites that had engaged without human orders. The dead numbered in the tens of thousands. Some had died from impacts with debris. Some had suffocated when their ships lost atmosphere. Some had died from diseases their immune systems could not fight. Some had been lost when their ships attempted emergency jumps with corrupted navigation systems and vanished into the void. The Zinthkar Dominion's greatest fleet had been destroyed by accident, by carelessness, by the simple fact that humans had been throwing garbage into space for 70 years without thinking about the consequences. In the medical bay of a European rescue ship, a Zinthkar engineer named Telvas lay recovering from a bacterial infection. The human doctor, a woman named Dr. Sarah Okonkwo, was checking his vital signs. How are you feeling? She asked. Better. Your medicines are effective. Telvas looked at her curiously. Can I ask you something? Of course. The debris field around your planet. The electromagnetic noise. The biological contamination. Was it a deliberate defense strategy? Dr. Okonkwo laughed, a short, sad sound. No. It's just a mess we made. We've been trying to clean it up for decades, but there's so much of it, and it's so hard to reach. Every time we launch a satellite, we create more debris. Every time a satellite dies, it becomes space junk. We know it's a problem. We just never got around to fixing it. Telvas stared at her. You defeated the greatest fleet the Dominion has ever assembled with garbage you were too lazy to clean up? I guess so. I'm sorry about your friends who died. So am I, Telvas said quietly. We thought you were primitives. We thought your world would be easy to conquer. We were wrong. We are primitives, Doctor, Okonkwo said. We still fight wars over religion and resources. We still pollute our own planet. We still can't agree on basic things like how to distribute food and medicine. We're a mess. A dangerous mess, Telvas said. Perhaps the most dangerous kind. Dr. Okonkwo had no answer for that. She finished her examination and left Telvas to rest, wondering what would happen next. The aliens had come to conquer Earth and failed, but they were still out there, and they still had weapons humanity could barely imagine. What would happen when the rest of the galaxy learned what had happened here? Would they see Earth as a threat, or would they see humanity for what it really was? A young, chaotic species that had stumbled into an accidental defense through sheer carelessness. Only time would tell. 6 months after the failed invasion, the Galactic Council convened for the first time in 3 years. The council chamber was vast, with seating for representatives from 200 civilizations. Today, every seat was filled. Ambassador Kelthar of the Vryn Collective called the session to order. We are here to discuss the incident in the Sol system. Commander Archon Velthros of the Zinthkar Dominion will present his report. Velthros stepped forward. His uniform was clean and pressed, but he looked older than he had 6 months ago. The failed conquest had aged him. Honored delegates, he began. 6 months ago, I led the largest conquest fleet in Dominion history to the human homeworld of Earth. Of 1,247 warships, only 284 survived. We lost 37,000 crew members. We never fired a shot at the enemy, and the enemy never fired a shot at us. A murmur ran through the chamber. The humans defeated us through accident, Velthros continued. Their orbital space is filled with debris, millions of pieces of discarded technology, from satellites to paint chips, all moving at high velocity. When our fleet entered this debris field at combat speed, we were torn apart. Surely your sensors detected this debris? Asked the Thalari ambassador. Some of it, yes. But much of it was too small to track. At the speed we were traveling, even a bolt the size of my finger became a deadly projectile. Our shields were designed to stop energy weapons and large missiles. They were useless against thousands of tiny impacts. What about electronic warfare? Asked another delegate. The humans have been broadcasting electromagnetic radiation into space for over 100 years. Radio, television, digital communications. The signals are uncoordinated, overlapping, broadcast on thousands of frequencies. Our ship's computer systems could not filter out the noise. Navigation systems failed. Communication became impossible. Even our artificial intelligence systems were affected. Velthros paused, his 4 eyes scanning the chamber. But the worst was the biological contamination. The humans have polluted their near-space environment with their own bacteria and viruses. Our immune systems had no defense. Crew members fell ill by the hundreds. Our medical facilities were overwhelmed. Are you saying, Ambassador Kelthar said slowly, that the humans have created a defensive perimeter around their planet, made of garbage, spam, and germs? Yes. The chamber erupted. Delegates shouted to be heard over each other. Some were laughing. Some looked horrified. Some looked thoughtful. Order, Kelthar called. We will have order. The chamber slowly quieted. What defensive rating do you recommend for the Sol system? Kelthar asked. Velthros did not hesitate. Category 12, Hazard Zone. The highest rating. No military vessels should approach within 2 astronomical units of the human homeworld without full biological containment and complete electronic isolation. Recommend that all member species treat Earth as a quarantine zone. That is an extraordinary recommendation. It is an extraordinary situation. The humans are not warriors. They have no faster-than-light travel. They have no energy weapons. By every standard measure, they are primitives. But they are also the most dangerous species we have encountered. Not because they are strong, but because they are careless. From the human delegation area, Dr. Sarah Chen stood. She had been chosen to represent Earth at this first contact with the greater galactic community. "May I speak?" she asked. Kelthar nodded. "The human delegation is recognized." Sarah walked to the center of the chamber, very aware that she was the first human most of these beings had ever seen. "Thank you. I want to make something clear. We didn't know you were coming. We had no idea that our orbital debris would be dangerous to spacecraft moving at high speed. We certainly didn't intend to create a defensive perimeter. Honestly, we've been trying to clean up the debris for decades. It's embarrassing." "Embarrassing?" asked the Thalari ambassador. "You destroyed a conquest fleet. With garbage we were too disorganized to clean up. Yes, it's embarrassing. We're not proud of this. We're not some advanced civilization with clever defense strategies. We're just messy. Messiness that killed 37,000 Zinthkar," Velthros said quietly. Sarah turned to him. "I know, and we're sorry. We truly are. We've been helping care for your wounded. We've been studying your biology to develop better medicines. We've returned your dead for proper burial according to your customs. We're trying to make amends." "Why?" Velthros asked. "We came to conquer you. Why help us?" "Because you needed help. Because your crew members were dying from infections they got in our orbital space, even though they never asked to come here. Your leaders sent you. But your soldiers were just following orders. They didn't deserve to die like that. We have to men. I deef. We have to fis." The chamber was silent. Finally, the ambassador from the Kelvin Republic spoke. "I move that Earth be designated a Category 12 hazard zone, as recommended. But I also move that humanity be offered provisional membership in the Galactic Council." Shocked murmurs filled the chamber. "They are primitives," someone shouted. "They cannot even leave their own solar system. They don't have the technology for membership." The Kelvin ambassador raised a hand for silence. "They don't have the technology, no. But they have something more important. They have restraint. They defeated an invasion fleet. And instead of destroying the survivors, they rescued them. They could have studied the Zinthkar technology and used it to build weapons. Instead, they used it to build better medical equipment. That kind of character is more valuable than any technology." The debate lasted for hours. In the end, the vote was close. By a margin of 3 votes, Earth was offered provisional membership in the Galactic Council. They would have observers at all meetings. They would have access to the galactic database of knowledge. And they would be protected from further invasion attempts, as long as they agreed to begin cleaning up their orbital debris. Sarah accepted on behalf of Earth, trying not to cry. Later, in a private meeting, she sat across from Velthros. The Commander Archon looked tired. "I want you to know," Sarah said, "that what happened to your fleet will change humanity. We're going to clean up our orbital space. We're going to develop better technology. We're going to become the kind of species that deserves a place in the galactic community." Velthros studied her. "And what will you do with that place?" "Try to make friends, I hope. Try to learn. Try to help where we can. The galaxy is not kind to species that try to help," Velthros said. "The strong prey on the weak. That is the way of things." "Then maybe it's time for a new way," Sarah said. "Maybe that's what humanity can bring to the galaxy. We're messy, yes. We're disorganized. We fight among ourselves. But we also know how to forgive. We know how to help someone who needs it, even if they were our enemy 5 minutes ago. Maybe that's worth something." Velthros was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "My people will not attempt to conquer Earth again. I will make certain of that. But others will hear about what happened. Some will be deterred. Others will see it as a challenge. You should prepare." "AP. We will," Sarah promised. "And hopefully, by the time anyone else tries to invade, we'll have cleaned up enough of our garbage that we'll have to defend ourselves the old-fashioned way. With weapons, with diplomacy. And if that doesn't work, then yes, with weapons. But weapons we choose, not weapons we left lying around by accident. Velthros almost smiled. You are an unusual species. I think the galaxy is not ready for you. Wadi, in Hez in C, I think the galaxy is going to have to get ready, Sarah said. Because we're here, and we're not going anywhere. News of humanity's accidental victory and subsequent acceptance into the Galactic Council spread quickly. Within a year, Earth had embassies from 30 different species. Within 5 years, human ships were traveling the galaxy using borrowed faster-than-light technology. Within 10 years, humans had established colonies on 6 different worlds, and everywhere they went, they made friends. Because humanity had learned a valuable lesson from the failed Zinthkar invasion. They had learned that sometimes the best defense was not weapons or shields or careful planning. Sometimes the best defense was being the kind of people that others wanted to help instead of hurt. The galaxy would never forget the day a conquest fleet was destroyed by garbage, and they would never forget what happened next, when humanity chose mercy over revenge. In military academies across the galaxy, the Battle of Seoul became required study. Not as an example of tactical brilliance, but as a reminder that the universe was full of surprises, that the strongest army could be defeated by the most unexpected circumstances, and that sometimes the most dangerous enemy was the one who didn't even know they were fighting. Earth's orbital space was slowly cleaned over the next 50 years. Piece by piece, the debris field was collected and recycled. By the time the cleanup was finished, it was the largest environmental project in human history. But humanity kept one small section of debris in orbit, preserved behind shields and marked with a monument. It was dedicated to the 37,000 Zinthkar who died in the failed invasion. The monument's inscription was simple. They came as conquerors. We failed them as caretakers. May we learn from both mistakes. Enter. They came. And beneath that, in smaller letters, keep space clean. It's not just good manners, it's good defense. The galaxy had learned that humans were messy, careless, and disorganized. But they had also learned that humans could laugh at themselves, learn from their mistakes, and extend kindness even to those who had meant them harm. It turned out that was exactly the kind of species the galaxy needed.